name is Francis Gagliardi. I'm very, very happy to be here with you. Just wanted to say thank you for being here. And I'm very excited about this session because I will speak about something that I'm very passionate about. But I want this session to be first about you. And this is why I would like to start with a very short exercise in which we are going to breathe. And I will explain you what we are going to do. First of all, let's breathe, take some deep breath, like 3 times. But let's imagine that we have to feel our body in 3 steps. Like first step, it's here. Second step is here. And third step is here. So like 1, 2, 3. And let's try together. Let's inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Last time, inhale, exhale. And now we're going to stretch our neck because it's maybe early in the morning for you. Here is noon, so we want to continue having a very nice day. We go down, we go up, we go with our shoulders forward and backward. And be careful if you're driving. We don't want any accidents. And the last exercise I want to do for now is to focus on our feet. We are going to close our eyes, and for 30 seconds, we are just going to focus on our feet. Try to feel how they are right now. If you have shoes, maybe you are not wearing shoes, or if you have socks, or only the shoes, or only sandals, or feel how your feet are right now. I just want you to do that, and I will count for 30 seconds, and you can close your eyes. And we can come back and start with our session. So, as I said, I'm very excited about today's session because I will share with you some strategies, activities, and planning to keep the attention in the classroom. Can you see my screen? Perfect. So, my name is Francis Gagliardi, as I said. I'm from Venezuela. I was born there and I grew up there. I started in the Sistema Venezuela when I was like 9 years old and started playing the French horn when I was 10. And after some years, I decided that I wanted to study something else, and I decided to study at the university special education in learning disabilities. And while I was studying, I realized that I liked very much these 2 areas, like learning disabilities, special education, pedagogy, and music. So I tried to find a way to mix both of them and to get the best out of each one and to find new ways to teach music or to find new approaches for my students. So I've been very lucky because I've been able to visit different programs around the world and to learn a lot from them, like Dream Orchestra with Rona Alvarez. I've been in the Caribbean islands and Lucia. I've been in music art project, the Sistema Serbia, and now I'm living in Greece, working with the Sistema Greece. And this has given me the opportunity to make a lot of mistakes and to experiment a lot and to learn the ways that work the best for me and for my way of teaching. And today I'm very excited because I'm going to tell you about a new way of teaching, or it's not exactly a new way of teaching, but it's a new way of seeing education, which is neuroeducation. It's like understanding what happens with our brain when we are learning. But don't worry, uh, I don't want you to feel scared, like we are going to go deep in difficult terms about the brain, and we no. This is, I promise, this is going to be very easy and very simple, and I will try to do um, my best for you to understand it in the nicest and smoothest way. But to start, I would like us to think about some things. And I want to give you a minute to think about how do you feel when you're enjoying what you are doing. And I will give you 1 minute. You can open your microphone and share with us your answers, or you can just write it on the chat. The chat is enabled for everyone. So please take this minute and think how you feel when you are enjoying what you are doing at that moment. And our minute is over. Is there anyone who would like to share how you feel? No one?
Well, may I?
Yes, please.
I feel relaxed and in the same time curious. So eager to go somewhere, but in a relaxed way.
Nice. Thank you very much. Someone else?
I also just wrote that excited but still calm. It's kind of mix of both. Energetic but still calm and
Very nice.
Some messages here in the chat, and I see
Ah.
Anya wrote passionate, joy, energetic. Then we have, we have happiness, we have feel very in the moment, happy, joyful, fulfilled, energized, awake, active. So calm.
Yes. Now I can open the chat.
Mhm.
Thank you very much for all your answers. And I have a next question for you, which is what words do you associate with attention? And again, our minute is over. I have some difficulties opening my chat.
Yeah, I will
Press
read the
the hard
message for
button.
you so that you
It
don't
didn't open.
have to do. Okay, so we have focus from Taru, open mind, awareness, respect from Anya. Then we have from Music Art Project, watchfulness. Then we have listening, and we have also awareness, observation, feeling of being ready, alert, interested, focused, concentrated. And these are the answers for now.
Wonderful. Really wonderful, because all these words, where I'm going to mention them during this session, meaning that we are going on the right way. And I want to show you the contents of the day, because for me it's very important that you know what we're going to do. And today I'm going to talk about what is attention, also types of attention, what happens in our brain when we pay attention, how to awaken attention, and things to consider in our class. And when I say things to consider in our class, these are some ways in which you can organize your plan for you to keep the attention of your students. So some considerations you might have when you are planning and you are designing your class, for you to consider for you to understand how you can keep your students with you all the time. So I want to tell you what is attention. And attention is a brain mechanism required to be conscious about something. Therefore, we need to activate consciousness. And I'm very happy that I you replied many times awareness and observation and to be relaxed, because this is to be present. this is consciousness. To be conscious about something, we have to be aware. We have to be there in the present, in the moment. Whatever we are not living in the moment, we are not registering in our brain. So it is very important. This is already a fact that can help us with our students, because when we are aware, because we are fully present, then our brain is activating the attention. So we are really recording, like in our brain, like a camera, what we are living. So this is why we learn when we are in the moment, in the present. For this, I suggest to do some exercises like mindfulness, breathing exercises, very, very short meditations. What we did at the beginning, in which we were feeling our feet, this is a very short mindfulness exercise, because it brings you to your body and the state of your body in that precise moment. So these kind of exercises help us to bring the students to the present, so they are not thinking about things they have to do, or things they did, or homework maybe, or other things, or things they would like to be doing, but the things they are doing in that moment with you, and then they are going to learn. The attention is like spotlight, and it is very important that we really understand how our spotlight works, because we point our spotlight to one specific thing, and that's the only thing that is receiving light. All the things around that are in dark. With this, I want to tell you is that this light, it's the one that it's really telling the brain what to keep, what to register. But everything around this light, it's not being registered, because literally our brain cannot see it. If it cannot see it, it won't stay there. And when we are paying attention, we are facilitating the learning process, the memory, and the acquisition of knowledge. Why? Because it is impossible to memorize or to learn if we are not paying attention. And these are correlated, because when we pay attention, we enable the learning process. So our brain, it's really keeping some things. But we really learn when we memorize. And that doesn't mean that we have to remember exactly how the book says, but to register the principal ideas, the more important ideas that we are living at the moment. So we are memorizing. And when we memorize, our brain really processes all this information, so it acquires it and it stays in our brain. So this is how it works. And something very important as well is that we cannot learn two things at the same time. We can jump from one to the other, but it's because our spotlight can be only in one place. But we can move the spotlight. Many times when we are doing multitasking, we believe that we are doing two things at the same time, but actually we are not. We are jumping from one thing to another and giving attention and giving the importance to one of these two in specific moments. So we are doing one thing, and suddenly we start doing the second thing, and we turn off the attention in the first thing, and we are in the second. So this is what happens. But it's impossible, because we only have one spotlight. It is really impossible to put the spotlight in two places or to split it. So this is why it is also important there are many important things here, that we understand how to give the instructions to our students, so we make them focus on only one thing at a time. If we give them many instructions, or if we give them many things to do, then they won't know to which one they have to pay attention. So it's like, okay, I do this, but I also do this, and then I do this, but I'm not registering anything because I'm doing too many things at the same time. So in order for them to learn, let's practice how we give the instructions and how we create steps for the instructions or for the procedures of whatever we are teaching them. And before, in the past, the neurologists thought that the attention was only one process that we could activate, and it was like, okay, pay attention. We turn on the attention and we are paying attention and we are learning. But this doesn't work like this anymore, or it never worked like that. Now we know that it doesn't work like that. Now we know that we have many different types of attention, and these are just few of them. Depending on the theory that you are studying, you can find different ones. But for example, we have the primitive attention, the first one. And this is the one that helped us to survive because it's the one that keeps us alert. It's the one that differentiates us when we are sleeping and when we are awake. If we're awake, we're paying attention to whatever is happening around. That doesn't mean that we are focused on what we are doing or what is surrounding us, but this means that we are fully aware without making an effort. We know what is happening. If something happens suddenly, we know that it's happening. We know we have light. We know the things that are around us. So this is the primitive attention. It's the basic one. It's the one that we always have like on when we are awake. And then we have the fixed attention. The fixed attention, it's the one that we mostly activate when we are in danger. Because just imagine for a second that you're walking and suddenly, out of nowhere, you see a dog that starts barking at you and that seems like it's going to attack you. At that moment, you don't care about anything else that is not the dog. You are only looking at the dog. And you put the spotlight on the dog. And after maybe a day or two, when you remember this experience, you will notice that you don't remember anything else but the dog. You don't know what happened around, but it's because your fixed attention was activated. So you were only paying attention to the dog. So your brain only registered the experience with the dog, but not the things that were around the dog. And then we have the guided attention. I will explain this with a story. Let's imagine that Berna is going to pick me up at the airport. She knows how I look like because she probably saw me in the Instagram pictures for this workshop. She knows how I look like right now because she's looking at me in this presentation, but she's not sure if I'm going to look exactly the same when she sees me in person. So she's under certain expectations. And she is at the airport, she's waiting for me, and suddenly she sees hundreds of people getting out of the gate with suitcases and everything. So she starts moving the spotlight from one person to another, trying to find the person that it's more or less like the characteristics she has on her brain about me. So this is the guided attention. It's a kind of fixed attention that we can move very quickly because we can jump from one space to another, looking for the right thing that we need to have. So in this attention, we sustain it, but for very few seconds, and we move it as we want until we find what we're looking for. And then we have the executive attention, which is the one we activate when we are doing a specific task or when we are doing a math exercise, because we know that all the variants are very important and we really need to pay attention to each one of the details in order to get the right result. But for our lives, let's say that we are on a trip with our students and we went into the bus and we need to count our students. We need to be very, very focused on our task because if I count one more or one less, everything is a disaster because that means that we have either an extra kid or a missing kid. So we are so focused on that task that we are really paying attention and sustaining our attention until we finish the task because we know the importance of the details in this moment. We believe that attention is something that we can really sustain for a long time, but it is not like that actually. Attention is like a light that we turn on and off, and this happens very often. Maybe you may say, okay, when I'm reading and I really like the book I'm reading, I never get dispersed. I am always paying attention and I can feel that everything disappears for 1 hour. But when we really reflect and we evaluate the situation, we might notice that maybe this is not exactly what is happening. What is happening is that we are reading some lines and we remember something that we need to do and we continue with our book, or we like very much something that happened in the book and we think a little bit more about this, and then we come back to our reading, and this process happens all the time. But these moments in which we turn off the attention are so little that we are not noticing that they are existing, but they are there. Otherwise, we could not be able to pay attention during all this time. So let's have a break here. Now you have all this type of attention. And I would like you to write on the chat, what kind of attention do you believe you have activated in this exact moment?
The majority says guided attention. We have one executive attention also, but yeah, mostly guided attention. And then last response, primitive, guided, and executive.
Nice. So let's do another exercise. For this, I will stop sharing my screen because, okay. Do you like dancing? You can just do this if you like it. Because I'm from Venezuela, I'm from Latin America. I grew up dancing salsa and I love to incorporate this kind of music in everything I do. So I will invite you to dance with me, but I will teach you some very easy steps. So please stand up and I will show you right now my feet. I think you can see them. Yes. So it is very easy. It's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So let's practice together. Without music first. 3 and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and now we put some music. This is a bit faster. 1, 2, 1, 2.
En el barrio La Cachimba se ha formado la corredera. En el barrio La Cachimba se ha formado la corredera. Allá fueron los bomberos con sus campanas, sus sirenas. Allí fueron los bomberos con sus campanas, sus sirenas. Ay, mamá, ¿qué pasó? Ay, mamá, ¿qué pasó?
Very good. Thank you very much for dancing with me.
Is that Buena Vista Social Club, right?
Yes.
Great music, great music.
So if I didn't have your attention, I'm sure I have it now. And I would like to ask you, what kind of attention do you think you used when you danced salsa? Think, because we are in different situations. Maybe some of you knew how to dance salsa. Maybe some of you didn't know. Maybe you have tried before, or maybe not. So depending on your situation, you activated a different kind of attention. So can you please share with us on the chat what kind of attention do you believe you were using during this dancing moment? Very nice. I'm very happy to see that a lot of people consider that they were using the executive attention because that means that you were really focused on the task. And this is what we want to achieve with our students, that they are activating the executive attention because this is the one that we sustain the most. And I will continue because we don't have much more time, but we have enough. And I will tell you briefly what happens with our brain when we are paying attention. Because attention is a process in which sparse neurons are assembled. What does this mean? I like very much the movie Despicable Me, the one with the minions and okay. So I want you to visualize the minions, and many minions are doing nothing. Like some of them are laid down, some of them are drinking a juice or something, a cocktail, some of them are dancing, but all the minions belong to different teams. Some of them belong to the fixed attention, the primitive attention, guided attention, and the executive attention. So when the brain wants to activate a specific kind of attention, for example, let's say executive attention, imagine that in our brain an alarm starts sounding and it's like, people from executive attention, and they all gather, they join forces, and they start working for you to pay attention in this way, with this type of attention. This is how our neurons are working. They are all around, but when they have to activate the attention, the specific one, they join together, they make the connections, and they start you making your brain work in this specific way. So different specific neural networks are activated with each type of attention. So as I told you very briefly, this is what happens with our brain. And how to awaken attention? We need to consider that everything depends on the situation we have and on the students. We can have different ages, different cultures, different situations, social backgrounds. So everything influences in the way the kids are paying attention and if they are there or not. Many of them know how to behave in a classroom. Many of them have never been in a classroom. So these are factors, variants that we need to consider when we are going to approach them. But in massive open online courses, they were trying different strategies to make the student learn faster and more and to receive a better quality information. So they decided to try shorter lessons, but more lessons. And they discovered that it is better to have 50 classes of 10 minutes than having 10 classes of 50 minutes. It is the same amount of time, but it is the way they distributed the time that make them work better. Why? Because we can try to sustain our attention during 10 minutes, but when we try for 50 minutes, we can realize that maybe after 15, we are out. And our brains need a break to come back to the action. So when you finish 10 minutes, then you can have a break, you can prepare yourself for the next 10 minutes, and you know that the effort will last only 10 minutes. So you know it won't be so bad. And your brain acquires more knowledge because it feels relaxed, which is something that many of you said. Relaxed, curious, excited, joy, happiness, and calm. A stressed brain won't learn because it's trying to fight back. And this is not what we want. We want relaxed brains, calm brains that can activate all their mechanisms for them to learn the best way possible. And Francisco Mora, he's a neurologist from Spain who has been studying and developing this theory, neuroeducation. He says that attention is a flame activated by the spark of curiosity. When something is curious, we activate attention. Maybe when I said, let's dance, you felt curious, like, this might be interesting. and you felt happy, so you started learning and you paid attention. And something is curious when it's innovative, it's something new that we were not expecting because it's surprising. Probably you didn't imagine we would dance salsa in a workshop about brain and attention. And because it's complex, we feel attracted, most people feel attracted to challenges. If something is very easy, we don't pay attention. And if something is too complicated, we don't want to pay attention because we feel we won't be able to do it. So, as teachers, we need to know the level of complexity of our exercises or of the knowledge that we want them to learn for them to feel that this is challenging enough, but it won't be frustrating. And some things you can do. You can tell a short story and you can take advantage of the content you need to teach to make a story out of it. Like the story I made about the airport and Berna picking me up. You can do a short exercise, and for this, I would like to teach you. Maybe you know this, but in case you don't know it, I like very much to do brain gymnastics, and I will do an exercise with you. With your right hand, you will use your pointer finger like this, and with your left hand, you will make a 0. And when I say change, we are going to do this at the same time. 1, 2, 3, change. 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 So this is a short exercise, brain gymnastics, that you can incorporate in our lesson. It will take you probably 1 minute, 30 seconds, and you will give a break to the students by doing this exercise. It's like an active break. You can give them a new image, something that they were not expecting. You can move. Physiologically speaking, children need to move every 20 minutes more or less. So if we try to incorporate some movements, this will be wonderful for our students. It doesn't have to be very long experience. You can just stretch your necks, you can just stand up, jog in the place for 30 seconds for them to burn a little bit of energy, and then calm down doing some breathing exercises, which are very useful for our classes, especially because they bring you back to the present. So we are mindful, we are fully aware of what we are doing. You can ask open questions, so you try to incorporate them into the experience, that it's not only about you, it's also about them, so they feel that they can participate. Or you can just give them some free time, you can negotiate with them. I did that a lot during the pandemic when we were in our classroom without air condition, very hot Athens, and we were wearing masks, but we have fortunately a balcony in which they could remove their mask for a few minutes. So I would say, okay, let's negotiate this. If we manage to reach this point to the class, then you will earn 2 minutes outside of the classroom. And they were like, oh my God, this is so amazing. I will have 2 minutes without a mask. So these are things that when they come back, they are paying attention because they feel relaxed. They feel that you are giving them the space for them to reset, and you can continue with your lesson. And here I will give you some tips that you can consider in your plan. Inform the students the agenda of the day. Why is this so important? Because when you tell them the things we will do or the steps we need to go through, then they will be fully aware and they will follow the agenda. So they will be like, okay, we haven't finished, we are close to finish, so I will make an effort, I will really try to get to the end. And then they really try to reach the end of the class because they know how the end looks like. Also, to start with a warm-up, any kind of warm-up that you want. It could be a physical warm up, it can be some questions to warm up the brain about the contents. You can do some breathing exercises, you can do mindfulness exercises, short meditations to start with a warm up, to bring the students to the moment and to be in the mood to start the lesson. Now that everyone is in the mood, we start and we are fully present and we can enjoy our lesson. Include some movements from time to time, and it is important that we incorporate them in our plan, because sometimes we packed it so much that then we realize we don't have time to have a break or just to stand up and move. So these kind of things, you can consider them when you are planning, like in the middle of, in between this exercise and this exercise, you can do a short break, you can move a little bit, you can dance a little bit. Consider this short break in your plan and make sure you have a conclusion for your class. Make sure that you end the lesson in a specific way so they know, okay, this is the end. Before this, we haven't finished, so I still have to continue in the lesson because we haven't finished. Because in my case, I do this, I have different lessons in the Sistema Greece with different ages. And with my 5-year-old kids, we always have the same song to finish the class. So when one of them sometimes want to leave, the others tell him, yes, but we haven't sung the song, so we haven't finished. And they are like, okay, okay, so I will remain here because we haven't sung the song, so the class hasn't finished. And these are my suggestions for you to consider when you are designing your beautiful and amazing lessons. Now I would like to have some minutes for some questions, and I believe, yes, I did it on time.
I just wanted to thank you for such a complex presentation. It was, all the questions I had in my mind, you answered them afterwards. But I was just curious about the beginning. You asked questions. And how did you see the answers we gave to the second question you asked? And because, we had this feeling that it was like maybe like this, but what were your projections about it?
Actually, I felt very surprised because all these questions, all these answers were very related to the things I wanted to say. So for me, it was very valuable and important that you associate attention and enjoying. And also when we are enjoying, we are paying attention. So it is important that we realize we want our students to enjoy the experience we are giving them in our class. So we want them to feel relaxed, curious, excited, but at the same time calm and energetic, joyful, happy. So these are the feelings that we should consider having present in our lesson, and that we would like to provide our students with for them to really learn and to start memorizing and acquiring the knowledge.
Exactly. And maybe there are teachers, concrete teachers in this group. But so what about this question you were asking? What attention are we paying when we are listening to you?
This was a very practical questions, like to see if you were really associating what I was saying with the state of mind you had in that moment. Like, okay, so I will reflect a little bit. Am I in the executive attention or not? And it was also a way for me to evaluate, because I saw that many said that was guided attention or primitive attention. And after dancing salsa, we had a change. Most of the people said that it was executive. So we improved the attention at that moment. First, you were jumping from one place to another because you were using guided attention, or you were just aware of what was happening. But after dancing salsa, then you were using the executive attention. So this improved.
Exactly. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will have tomorrow Taru's presentation. Taru is here. Also, you can see her. And it will be interesting because it slightly passes next to your subject about children with special needs. So it will be interesting communication also about what Francis has been presenting today, and sort of continuation maybe.
I'm actually really happy that you gave this presentation about, because this goes like really into the details about focusing and everything we need to know when we are teaching and when we are trying to get the attention. And maybe I'm talking tomorrow more like not going into these kind of details, but more generally.
I wonder, Francis, are you able to be present tomorrow by any chance?
What time is it? Because tomorrow I have my second dose of the vaccine. So
Okay, it's at 11
CET.
CET.
yes, I can try to be there. Maybe I have to leave earlier, but I can
I think
definitely
that could
start.
be useful and interesting, because that definitely brings an approach that can be just enriching to this discussion. What do you
Yes,
think?
definitely.
And I think we have this kind of same kind of background. I'm also like now writing my thesis in special education and also a music educator, and interested in both both of these subjects.
Yes, I think it's an amazing subject, and we're very lucky that we were one day after the other. So I
Yeah,
introduced.
good exchange between you.
Yes.
Yes.
And I saw Patricia maybe raised her hand before. Patricia, if you want to say something.
Yeah, Francis, I was wondering if you could share maybe some of the exercises that you know to kind of recall attention once a group gets dispersed or after a break, because I think this is very challenging. I'm not a music teacher, but I have taught, and one of the things that I loved from working in El Sistema in Caracas is that when you visit a núcleo, to see all the different exercises each teacher has, it's like, you know, the box of tricks that they have to kind of like recenter, recapture attention, especially with little kids. You know, when I was growing up, the teacher would just yell at us, but now, you know, it's exercises or rhythmic things or clapping, or so if you have any of those tricks, it would be interesting to listen to them.
Yes, of course. My favorite one is one clapping. I clap ta 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 ta, and they have to reply ta ta, but they have to be together. So I do pam pam, and I increase the speed or I do it slower. And this is, I believe, very positive for me because I don't have to raise my voice, and I don't get hoarse. But yes, this is my favorite one. Also, to teach the students how the real silence looks like, because if most of them are quiet but you can still hear some noise, then you teach them that this is how silence or calmness looks like, and they will continue with this dynamic. But if you wait for them, like you give some expectation, like, okay, wait, listen, nothing, this is real silence, then they will know this is where we have to go before we continue, and you stay there until they really get to that silence, like, okay, now this is the amazing silence we want, so now we can continue. Something like, and this I learned from Gerald, like, okay, try to clap with me, and clap and clap, and suddenly you trick them, like, oh, and most probably they will clap, so they will pay attention to you. I usually have some like keywords, like for example, we were in a summer camp in Serbia last week, And I would say music art, and they would reply project. And I would say music art project, music art project, music art project, music art project, until they are really calm and silent. And this question and answer are always very useful because you catch their attention, and if only one student start replying to your clapping, then next time you do it, two of them, and suddenly it's like, okay, someone started clapping, so maybe I have to do it as well. Or you can do something like shh, 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 and they follow you, and everyone ends up doing shh, 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 shh. And what I love to do after I reach this silence that I want is to ask my students to breathe. Like, let's breathe together. One more time. Because many times the silence is for you as teacher, because it's frustrating to teach with all this mess, but the breathing exercise is for them. They really need something to come back to their center, so we provide ourselves with the silence we want, and that will also benefit them. But then you provide them with a moment to focus on themselves and to come back to their center, and then you continue with the lesson. These are some of the things I usually do.
Thank you, Francis.
Still one more question. I suppose we need to go quite soon. Is there any place we can find some, first of all, contact with you, or some exercise, or do you know some platform where we can enrich our
Well,
work?
usually you can find in YouTube and in general in Google or any on internet, brain gym. So there are different, I wrote it on the chat. There are different exercises that are very good for our students because they activate different parts of the brain. They activate focusness, concentration, attention. So we help our students to self-regulate and to um, develop better how their brain are working. And with Brain Gym, I like it a lot, and there is a lot of information on the internet and in YouTube, different exercises. Also, I would suggest you to find some body percussion, simple ones that you can use as key moments for them to pay attention. And yes, I would say these are the most like um, interesting ones.
Okay, thank you very much. This was so helpful and so complex.
Thank you very much for having me and for staying here with me today.